This activist tried to destroy a $100 million painting. Now she's in jail. Let's go.
2 months, Phoebe Plummer went from being an ordinary university student.
She went from being Phoebe Plummer to going to the university, to going to jail. I know that was a bad last name joke there, but...
to an internationally known criminal. So why the sudden change? Well, here are 3 words for you. Just Stop Oil.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
The
Just Stop Oil.
environmental activist group had gained notoriety for their disruptive stunts, including ruining the World Snooker Championship, vandalizing an airport terminal.
I saw that, the snooker thing. They just threw like some orange powder and there's like a Just Stop Oil thing or something. And like, oh, look at us. We're so goddamn cool and good at this. We're just going to ruin everything and make everybody think that Just Stop Oil is good. And then after that, they went into here and then they sprayed. Yeah, they did this and then they glued themselves onto a lot of tracks. I think it was in Germany as well. Loads of ridiculous stuff.
And even defacing a beloved prehistoric structure.
Oh yeah, that's Stonehenge.
To no one's surprise, people were beginning to get upset.
See, the reason I'm laughing is because they all have the opportunity to move away. They all have the opportunity to do something different. What they've decided to do, though, is sit there in the road, not do jack shit, and then complain that people are not stopping for them. So it's okay that people are stopping for them, but not that they have to move away for the other people. See, it's equal. If nobody wants to stop, somebody's gonna get hurt.
The group's actions were even negatively affecting some families.
Some?
I lost my job interview because of these lot, yeah.
What was your job interview for?
For a skip driver.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
HGV driver, so I'm HGV.
So where does Phoebe Plummer fit into all this? You see, Phoebe had turned into somewhat of a spokesperson for the group and had essentially become the face of the movement. Here's what...
If the face of my movement is a half pink-haired, lesbian-looking, angry feminist, I don't want to be a part of that movement, okay? And I understand that Just Stop Oil could have some sort of good implications, but they're sponsors from oil companies.
Phoebe had to say about the group's motives.
You might recognize me as one of the people who threw soup on Van Gogh's sunflowers.
That's what it was. It was Van Gogh.
Of Just Stop Oil, demanding that the government immediately halts all new licensing for oil, gas, and coal.
But why would you do that on Van Gogh's sunflowers? Is it because it's an oil painting? But the amount of oil used in that oil painting is so minimal. Even if every painter today stopped painting with oil, it wouldn't make a difference and it wouldn't really make a problem for the environment. You're talking about oil cars and stuff. Why wouldn't you just go and vandalize like a Jaguar dealership or something? Like, it makes no sense to have done it on a sunflower. You could have done equally as expensive things, like private jets or something. But you went in and tried to destroy a piece of art and now you look like as a piece of shit. Makes no sense.
Because apparently we're going back to the dark ages in our energy policies.
When confronted about Just Stop Oil's unorthodox methods, Phoebe made the argument that effective social movements have to be disruptive.
Wouldn't it be better to educate people and talk to them and get them to be the groundswell that changes the government rather than paint on shop windows or soup on paintings?
I mean, pick up a history book, Trisha. Successful movements of social change always cause disruption. I sit here today as living proof that civil resistance works. I'm queer and born female. The only reason I'm able to vote.
I told you, I'm queer, I'm born female. See, this is like, it's like you have to have something to say. It's for the sake of saying it. And I understand that maybe Just Stop Oil is a good cause, but it's not a good cause at the sake of the damage it's just creating.
Able to go to university. Hopefully someday I'll marry the woman I love. And that's because of people who have taken part in civil resistance before me.
For Phoebe, it had always been her against the world, even from the very beginning. Phoebe was a proud member of the LGBTQ community and used they, he, and she pronouns. When she was 18 years old, Phoebe read a UN report saying that climate change could result in millions of deaths per year. Following this, Phoebe decided to go vegan, stop flying on airplanes, and wear only secondhand clothing.
I wish that she'd just become an environmental scientist or something like sustainable science or something instead of being a nuisance.
In 2022, just 3 years later, Phoebe would meet a group of people that would change her life forever.
It's always these people as well. It's always these people.
Within just 1 week of joining the activist group, Phoebe had been arrested 3 separate times. In fact, Phoebe was even jailed quite a few times for stunts like blocking the M25 highway in London for 4 days straight.
How did she manage that? That's a pretty impressive feat. If she could do this, she could go to uni and become an environmental scientist and help make engines more efficient. How much better wouldn't that be?
In light of these numerous antics, Phoebe never spent more than a few weeks at a time behind bars.
Because she's a white girl
Of course,
with privilege.
this would change down the road, but more on that later. Phoebe was beginning to realize that her actions carried real-life consequences. Though Phoebe insisted her goal was to prevent deaths, her actions were actually resulting in deaths.
Of course.
Crash actually linked to one of my circle of friends. She died because an ambulance couldn't get through because your protesters, Just Stop Oil, were blocking the road.
Oh
and the
my
ambulance
God.
couldn't get through.
She's going to be confronted with her, with the actions, the consequences of her actions. Do you know how funny that is when people that don't think their actions have any consequences and they sit there like, I'm just a savior, I'm savior, I have the moral superiority. One death for many lives saved. Ah, it's worth it. But now she's getting it told straight to her from somebody who actually lost somebody. Ooh, let's see how she reacts.
Couldn't get the help she needed, and
She shouldn't have been in the hell. Shouldn't have been sick. Something like that.
For protesters, my friend is dead. How do you answer that?
Phoebe claimed that the group had never received a complaint from emergency services, but the host, Kate, wasn't buying it.
And we have never had.
That's bullshit. I don't believe that either.
From either ambulances, fire brigade, or any other emergency services.
The video footage exists, and the lady can't complain now because she's dead.
To Kate, Phoebe's actions were
Wow.
really performative and
Yep,
had no
100%.
positive impact.
It's
in
all
the real
performative.
world.
And if we stop oil, how much more expensive do you think fuel's going to be, Phoebe? Or is it that you're just spouting out words that you and your friend think look good?
Yeah,
How
that's
is
exactly it.
related to stopping oil to throw soup over a painting in a gallery?
Would
Yep.
you rather your bills were £3,500 or £400?
I'm sorry, what did that have to do? What in God's name was that argument? That was just a random slew of numbers being thrown out. Like, hey, would you rather have 6 of these or 1 of them?
I would rather that you and your friends stopped wreaking havoc in the city of London. I'd rather you stop throwing soup over paintings, stop putting orange paint on the windows of Harrods, stop sitting in roads so that my friend couldn't get the treatment that she needed. And I'd rather you went out, worked a bit. Maybe you could do some litter picking on a
Yes,
beach.
exactly.
Maybe you could do something that was practical and helpful. But I don't think being obtrusive and obstructive and lecturing ordinary people when you have no idea what it's like to try and work and make ends meet in the UK. You talk about millions of people.
Wow, she's
about
going
people
hard.
who are in poverty. You have no idea what that's like because you live in the rarefied atmosphere of a university at some wokerati place, and you think what you're doing is changing the planet. I think what you're doing is pissing people off.
Almost nothing she said there is wrong, but the one big problem is that litter picking is barely going to solve anything. I do think, however, going into environmental sciences would most likely have a bigger impact. However, I can see her points, but also the only way to get people to listen is to be, in a sense, destructive, but not really. I'm talking about destructive to the economy. The only time people start listening is when their bottom line is, in a sense, on the shakier end because you've done something, like and trade embargo, for example. Like, money talks, and it's hard for me to say that I don't agree with their actions at all, but I'm saying I understand why they think being as destructive as possible is the best possible way to go forward.
In addition to enraging the general public, Phoebe had also managed to alienate those closest to her. Phoebe admitted that upon hearing about her antics, she had lost countless friends.
Yeah, of course.
Even had her own family disown her.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Online, I'd gotten quite a lot of
Personal
hate, people that I knew that I thought were my friends, who then decided that they hated me. And my dad is a climate denier.
I'd rather you come with facts why the climate is changing rather than talking shit about people that don't believe it.
Which makes it very hard to even start having the conversations about what I do. One of my brothers told me I wasn't his sister anymore and that he wanted nothing more to do with me and that he was, quote unquote, beyond disgusted and ashamed by me. And
Makes
that's
sense.
hard. I can't pretend that it's not.
Phoebe also explained her motivations behind her activism and also
I don't know, maybe to be special, I think. A lot of these people that have activism in this type of manner is often because they want to feel special. They want to feel like their voice is heard. They want to feel like they make a difference. But instead of making a difference, they make themselves a pain in the ass and nobody wants to listen to them.
also reflected on her time in prison.
The law isn't always ethical, always moral. And when you are looking straight at unjust laws, I think we have a moral responsibility to do something about that. And that's
Yeah, but doing something about a law and something that you think is morally not correct is not the same as being destructive towards the people that the same laws are affecting. So now, for example, me and you, we have to go out and buy, let's say, a cigarette. Because you are protesting and having things shut down, the cigarettes are now, it's affecting my bottom line. For example, they cost 10, now they cost 15, right? You are also, as much as you're helping, in this case, it's a better example, but as much as you're helping people not smoke, the people that are still smoking are still going to have to pay more for their cigarettes. So you're being an inconvenience to them. However, in this case, you're actually doing something physically good for people. However, in their case, when they're blocking roads and stuff, they're not really doing anything except for pissing people off. It's not like people are going to drive any less. It's only that people are going to be less likely to get to work on time or get ambulances or fire services. People are going to die. People are going to be pissy like that. However, I understand why blocking the road is an efficient thing because everybody has to talk about it. Well, they don't have to, but they are talking about it. And yeah.
That's why I'm willing to risk prison time and arrest. It's like, this isn't a passion. This isn't a hobby. There's a lot of joy in the movement, but it's not fun going to prison and going out and getting arrested. I don't do this because of passion. I do this for survival.
So why are you doing it for survival? See, that this is a little bit skewed again. You are not going to die. Even if the poles were melting because of human, let's call it human interaction. You wouldn't die in your lifetime. Maybe your children's children's children would die, but you wouldn't die. So it's not for survival. It really isn't.
Despite
That's a lie you tell
Phoebe's
yourself.
growing legal difficulties, Phoebe's stardom was also quickly growing. She was invited on countless television networks to discuss her ideas, including a program hosted by Jacob Rees-Mogg, the UK's former Secretary of State for Business and Energy.
Oh no.
Phoebe had quite a lot to say on the matter.
Quite frankly, I'm not a scientist.
But you should have been. If you want to have people listen, you might as well go get a PhD in some environmental science. I've been saying this the whole time, and I don't understand why people are just wanting to shout into the void and tell everybody to do something. And I mean, I understand shouting into the void, but what I don't get is being angry that when people don't listen and then blockading roads.
What I'm doing is I'm looking at the world, and we're living the effects of the climate crisis today. Right now, people are dying. Children are starving.
I mean, children are starving for different reasons than just climate change. You know that... I have nothing to say to that. That's just a real, like a reach.
Families are fleeing their homes.
But energy...
And it's preventable. We have the solutions.
Cheap energy is one of the things that has hugely extended life expectancy by the ability to control temperatures, whether this is by air conditioning or by heating, the ability to store food more effectively,
100%.
the ability to transport food, and
very
indeed
good
use
points.
fertilizers to grow more food, has all been essential in increasing life expectancy. Taking all that away would be disastrous for life expectancy.
She even labeled climate change a genocide.
You're making extreme claims.
The thing is, when you're talking in this manner, so calm, collected, you're telling everybody that, oh, you know what, this is exactly what's happening, blah, 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 blah. This is exactly what's happening. Then what you're doing, you're making her seem like a child being scolded. And honestly, that's what she should have been here. Because she's just shouting and being angry instead of actually having a rational debate.
But you're suggesting by not using fossil fuels, we would not produce the food we need to feed the world population.
I'm suggesting that if we keep on heading down this genocidal path of mass destruction, then no, there won't be any foods in the supermarket. Then we will see vast swathes of the world uninhabitable. We will see mass displacement of people.
Comparing rising temperatures to tragedies like the Holocaust was certainly an interesting choice of words.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Word on this, she would also be contributing to said genocide. Sitting there with hair dye, jewelry, and mass-produced cloth, it's like she's a billboard for what oil gives us.
100%. This is another problem with a lot of the Just Stop Oil protesters. They all walk around in foam shoes, which is all oil products, or having foam things on them, any oil derivatives. And how did they get there? Did they get there via bus or car, or did they walk or bicycle? Have you thought about that? To the highway?
Others also noticed the group's hypocrisy. There is no benefit to destroying pieces of art and ancient architecture that have brought humanity together ever since their creations. Their own density blinds them from seeing the hypocrisy of their actions. Wasting food and halting the pathway of cars to stop air pollution, but making it worse, since some people might not shut off their cars when confronted by them, or try going longer ways around. Even the superglue they use is most likely created through the use of man-made chemicals and energy from electricity usually sourced from natural gases, coal, and oil.
Jesus Christ. Oh, some of these points are really, really good. Like the fact that, but the first point I made in the beginning, the fact that you destroy ancient pieces of architecture and art that's brought humanity together is incredibly insane. Because you're talking about how it's genocide this and genocide that. But you're not talking about the community which brought these things together that you're still trying to break and ruin. But yeah, the superglue as well. And also how many people and manpower that have to drive out there to cut them out of the superglue. That's not being taken into consideration because they're making those cars drive, the fire trucks drive, the police officers drive, etc.
There is no benefit to what they do. In fact, there are more cons to their actions than pros. Just absolute blindness to a cause they are too dumb to properly understand anymore. You might be wondering, what does a random Redditor who couldn't even manage a single upvote really know on the matter? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot.
So here we are in the heart of the beautiful Warwickshire countryside, and yet if I look through this hedge just here, there's rubbish dumped everywhere. You can see.
Oh no, don't tell me it's from Just Stop Oil.
Plastic bags full of rubbish, liners, more plastic bottles, plastic chairs, more plastic chairs. Absolute mess. And all this crap has been left here by the Just Stop Oil campaigners. So what I want to know from somebody senior at Just Stop Oil, how is this acceptable?
Very true.
People dumping crap over our British countryside, polluting it, destroying the countryside and putting our wildlife at risk.
The hypocrisy is so large that they're using plastic bottles and also dumping it in nature. It's wild, it's insane, and I have no idea how this is ending up like this.
With rubbish. How can you justify this, and how can you tell me this is acceptable?
Yeah, it's absolutely not.
Unfortunately, Just Stop Oil's sins did not stop there, as the worst had yet to come. On October 14th, 2022, Phoebe and her friend Anna entered the National Gallery of London, home to paintings by Leonardo da Vinci, Claude Monet, and
fun fact, Leonardo da Vinci was actually a person with apparently massive ADHD and could never really finish anything. He had so many interests. He was just like, ooh, shiny, ooh, shiny, ooh, shiny.
And most notably, Vincent van Gogh. Here's what happened next.
And then are they glue themselves? Security!
The two women attempted to destroy Van Gogh's sunflowers, which is calculated to be worth several $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's an arbitrary evaluation, but it's still worth a shit ton, and they should have done that to something that would be emitting stuff rather than being an art piece. that people go to look at. Yeah, but you're taking the bus to go. Do you really think they would not take the bus to see all the other things?
Luckily, the painting was mounted behind a glass frame and remained undamaged. Phoebe and Anna then glued their hands to the wall, and Phoebe delivered her now infamous speech.
What is worth more, art or life? Is it worth more than food? Worth more than justice?
It's cringe.
Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people?
I mean, you managed to walk in there with a can of tomatoes, throw it out there, put some glue on, glue yourself to the wall. I don't think it's heavily protected. It's not like there's a bunch of armed guards everywhere. It's not like somebody just put an AK-47 to your head when you took out the Heinz thing and said, "Put it down, girl, put it down." It's a bad argument.
The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil crisis. Fuel is unaffordable to
so you want to stop oil?
Of cold, hungry families.
How does that make sense?
They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup.
Why don't you try to make oil cheaper then? Why are you trying to stop oil and make it more expensive? Hold up, wait a minute, my brain ain't co-braining.
Following the incident, Phoebe and Anna were arrested and jailed, but were released on bail. However, this will not be the last time that Phoebe found herself behind bars. In September of 2024, Phoebe Plummer was sentenced to serve 2 years and 3 months in prison, 2 years for her painting fiasco, and 3 months for her other protests. Lover or hater, Phoebe has definitely made her mark on the world. Upon receiving news of Phoebe's sentence, Just Stop Oil decided to vandalize the same sunflower paintings again, despite knowing that Phoebe had just been jailed for the exact same crime.
And they never learn.
Given that Phoebe will be locked up until 2027, we probably won't hear much from her for a while. I'll see you all in 3 years for an update video.
And I will be here waiting for that update video, because this girl she does deserve some jail time. However, what do you guys think? Put it in the comment section below, you sexy bastards, and like and subscribe, and see you guys later. Oh, by the way, there's some videos up here. You want to see this? Yeah, horse tails. Yeah, baby.